Hello everyone, in this video we are going to be installing and configuring a WSUS server using PowerShell. So mainly what we are going to do is install WSUS, configure most of the basic things, download a couple of updates, then configure group policies so that we can set clients to get updates from this server, and test on one of our other servers from the environment that we can download updates. I'm on my server that I designated to be the WSUS server, WSUS 01, and we are going to start, of course, by installing the WSUS feature. So with the installation finished, now we can go ahead and make some post-install configuration. The first thing I will do is create a folder where WSUS will store all of its files. And next we are going to run the WSUS util.exe, which will set our WSUS server to use the newly created folder. And the configuration is finished. And along with the WSUS functionality itself, we also get a couple of PowerShell commandlets, which you can get with the following command. And using all of these commandlets, you can actually automate a part of the WSUS day-to-day process, like for example approving new updates. But we are going to see that later on. Good. So with WSUS installed and the content folder registered, we can go ahead and make some of the basic configurations that we will need. The first thing we have to do, of course, is get a reference to the WSUS server in PowerShell. There it is. And from that reference, we have to get actually the configuration. This is the config. This command, what it does, it configures WSUS to get its Windows updates directly from Microsoft, because it's very simple. We have clients in our environment without internet connection. They will get the updates from the WSUS server, and the WSUS server will get the updates using an internet connection from Microsoft. So then, let's configure it, and the update source as Microsoft Update has been configured. Now in my case, to get internet connection in my environment, I use a proxy server. Now maybe you also have a proxy server, or maybe you have direct internet connection. This depends, but if you have a proxy server, you have to also run this command to use the proxy, and this command to actually set the proxy address. And let's save the configuration until now. Next up, since this is a test environment and I don't need any languages, I will set WSUS to only download the English version for all the updates that we will get. So first, I don't want all languages enabled, and next I will only set English as my preferred language for the updates, and again save the configuration. This is the targeting mode. When you use WSUS, you can either configure WSUS to target clients directly, or you could configure clients with group policy to let WSUS know, hey, my name is DC01, I'm a critical server, give me updates for the critical server group. And this targeting mode does what I explained. So this is the client targeting. The clients will actually let WSUS know who they are and what group they belong to. to get the required updates. So run it, save it, and now we can continue. The next thing we have to do, and this will take a while to complete, is we have to make an initial synchronization to the Microsoft servers, so we can download all the available products that we could service, the product catalog, and so on. Some metadata. First, get a subscription. This is the object that controls all the synchronizations, and then start a synchronization to get all of the objects from Microsoft. Now the synchronization should be started, and we have a couple of commands with which we can check its status. The first one is actually the status one, and you see that it's running. You will know that it's done when the status is not running, basically. But you can also see the progress and really what it's doing at the moment. And we see that at the moment it's at the phase categories. It has to process 3,595 items. For now it's at 0. So you can also use this to check. So this will take some time. I will come back to the video once the synchronization is finished and we can go on. After the synchronization is finished, you should get this as the status, not processing. This means that no synchronization is going on at the moment. So until now, we only synchronized the list of possible products that we could service. We did not get any updates or any list of updates until now. Let's continue on. And this command is useful because if you don't run it, every time you would open the WSUS graphical console, you would be treated with a welcome screen that encourages you to make the basic configuration of WSUS, which we already did. So let's get rid of that thing and save. And now we get to the next part of what we have to do. And that is to set what products do we want to get updates for. And in my case, I will want to get updates for Windows Server 2012 R2. So let me modify this very quick. If you go on my GitHub page that I link in the description, you will find this code and it should have already the R2 in it, so don't worry. So these two commands do the following thing. The first is disable any product that is not Windows Server 2012 R2, and the second, enable only Windows Server 2012 R2. So let's run the first one, let's run the second one, and we are set with this. We also need to specify if we want to get or not a specific type of update. So if you see here, I only want to get update rollups, security updates, critical updates, normal updates, and service packs. So this is the same logic as before. We disable everything else and then we enable only these ones. Let's run the first command and let's run the second command, and we are done also with this. And now that we configured our update types and our products that we want to get updates for, it's actually time now to get a catalog of all the possible updates that WSUS has in these parameters. So we can start a synchronization, and again using these two commands you can track at which point the synchronization is at the moment. With status you see the status, and with progress you see how many items there are and how many have been processed at the moment. So needless to say, this will also take some time, I will be back as soon as it's finished and we can continue. Now with the updates done, I will also show you the console, the graphical console in a moment, but let's continue to do everything configuration related with PowerShell now. Now I want to create a couple of groups that the clients will put themselves in to get updates. In WSUS, you can have, for example, a group called test and a group called prod, and clients will, using group policy, will be able to target one of these groups. And for example, on the test group, you could approve updates 1 week sooner than on the prod, test on a couple of devices, then if everything is okay, after a week approve it on prod, and maybe all devices that are left will get it also, but you had 1 week to test. In this video I will only create two groups, one parent and one child group. This will mimic actually my Active Directory organizational units. So first I want to create a group called servers. Easy enough. Then to create a child group, first we need to get a reference of this group, and then we create one under it named general. And we are done with the groups. Next, since we downloaded all the metadata about all the updates that we can give out to clients, I want to only approve a couple of them so we can test. So I'll get from WSUS a list of all the updates. Randomly I will say skip the first 100 and select the first two after the 100. Then I will just approve for install on the target group called all computers. So everyone that registers to this WSUS server can install these updates. And this is also done. The last thing that I want to do using PowerShell in this video for our WSUS configuration, or for our basic configuration, is I want to implement a fix for the app pool that sometimes stops. So if you use WSUS already, you know that in some cases the IIS application pool that hosts the WSUS endpoint sometimes stops, and to fix it we just have to modify a couple of parameters. The first one is the private memory for that application pool, which we have to increase compared to its default value. In my case, in my test environment, around 2 gigabytes is okay, but I'm pretty sure in a production environment you will want to put a bigger value for this. So let's configure it. And we actually can't configure it now because we did not load the IIS module. Just a second. And now after we import the web administration module, also this command should function, and it did. So this takes care of the first thing, and the second thing we have to set is this time parameter, and this one we have to make it smaller than it actually is. I'll create a time span in PowerShell of 4 hours, and I will set this as the new parameter, and so this can take effect, we have to restart our application pool. And this is it for our basic configuration. Let's now also check out the graphical interface and see what we did from there. So this is what you're looking for, Windows Server Update Services. I will also pin it to the Start menu. And here is our WSUS console. We have a couple of tabs. Let's first check out the options. In options, first thing is the update source and proxy server configuration that we set at the beginning. This is the part where we specify we want to update from Microsoft Update, and we want to use this specific proxy server. Then we have products and classifications, and this is the data that we synchronized at the beginning, if you remember. The list of all the possible products that we can service, but the only one that we enabled is Windows Server 2012 R2. And as far as classifications go, if you remember, we only enabled a couple of them. So this is where you see them in the graphical interface. And for the update files and languages, also we only set English. So we set this checkbox and only English as the preferred language. This we did not set, so right now all the synchronizations are done manually. If tomorrow a new Windows update would appear on the Microsoft Update endpoint, I would have to update the server manually to get it. In a production environment, you of course will want to synchronize automatically at a specific hour and a specific number of times per day. We did also not touch on automatic approvals. Normally, if you want to not get any headaches, you could approve all update types for either all computers or for a specific group of computers. And here you select what update types you want. By default, this is not turned on, so we have to approve ourselves all the updates that we want. Here in computers is the client targeting part that we set already, so we could let the computers target WSUS in a specific groups, or we could let WSUS import computers and place them in a specific group. This is much more simple. Server cleanup wizard is very helpful from time to time, because as time goes and as you get updates, those updates might get superseded and not used anymore, and this is used to recover some space on your WSUS server. There's also a PowerShell command to do this, and this is the command invoke WSUS server cleanup. And in this command, the way it works is each checkbox that you see here, you have to specify it as a switch parameter in PowerShell. So I want this, I want this, I want this, and then you run it and it will clean up only these specific categories, not needed for the time being. Email notifications I never used, the improvement program I never used, personalization never used, and the configuration wizard is the wizard that we actually set to not appear anymore. This would be a wizard that would appear to you every time you open the interface and would tell you to make the basic configuration of WSUS. Not needed. So these are the options. In reports we will go a little later, because for reports to work we have to install something else, so we are not going to cover this right now. In synchronizations you see a list of all your previous synchronizations and a couple of updates about them. Downstream servers is not relevant to us. This is useful in case you have multiple WSUS servers in your environment, and you can make one to be primary that connects to Microsoft, and the other ones are downstream servers, which means they get the updates from the primary one. and you would see all your downstream servers in this list if it were the case. In computers, we create our computers group, and we also see a list of the computers that have registered to the group. So this is all computers on which we approved our updates, but we can go further and we see the ones that we created here. And when you will see data from these groups, you have the option to also filter out by specific parameters. I usually in my test environment set any because I don't have a lot of computers. And the last thing I want to show you is the most interesting, the updates themselves. In all updates you really see a list of all the updates. If you leave the list as unapproved, you will see all the unapproved updates. Let's only see the approved ones and let's see any status for them. And these are the two updates that we approved for the moment to be installed. If we set this as unapproved, we will see all the possible updates. And to approve them from the graphical console, you just right click, approve, select at which level you want to make the approval. We could make it for install, click OK, and WSUS will start to download it in the background from Microsoft. So none of these updates occupy space on your computer. The only ones that occupy space are the approved ones. Those are the ones that get downloaded. Okay, so this was a look at WSUS. Now let's go to our domain controller and configure a group policy so we can set our servers to target, for example, this group. So under servers we have general, and I will create a group policy that will target this specific group. On my domain controller, let's go first to Active Directory. And you see in my Active Directory I have Test Corp and I have OU servers. I will create another one called General. And in this one I will move IPAM 01. So this is the server on which we will test our updates. And on this OU, I will set a group policy that will tell all computers from it to target the general group from WSUS. This is the way that you can link Active Directory OUs to your WSUS groups through group policy. Let's open group policy and let's go to our OU and create a new policy and also link it directly. And now we modify it. Everything we have to set is in computer configuration, in policies, administrative templates, Windows components, and we have to go all the way down to Windows Update. And I like usually to filter these settings by name. Now we could set a lot of things, and I will not go over everything that is here. I will only go over the basic things that we need to set so that updates are working. And one of them is client-side targeting. This should be enabled. And here we should specify the name of a WSUS group. And the next thing we have to set is to let the client know that it should connect to a specific WSUS server, and this is the configuration for this. And here these two values will have actually the same value because there is the update server and also the statistics server for generating reports. Let's apply. And with only these two settings, now we are ready to test Windows updates on our server. We could of course do other things like automatic updates, so the server will download updates automatically from WSUS and so on. But for the purpose of this video, I'm fine with manual interaction. Let's go to IPAM01 and see how this works. On IPAM01 now, first thing we need to do is to update the group policy because we have just applied a new one. This will configure the two settings that we set for WSUS. And now we can open Windows Update and try it out. We will check for updates, and if you see this, it means that the group policy has applied, and it is 90% possible that the first 2 or 3 tries will result in an error. This is because actually WSUS will look through all its catalog, even though a lot of updates are not approved, and it might be too much traffic for one pass of the client going and asking for the updates that apply to it. So I will actually here it is. If you see this error, unfortunately you have to try a couple of times before it will work. So I will try until I get the updates and I will come back to you then. On my third try it worked, and here are the two updates that we have approved. Both of them are selected. Let's install them, and I think in a short while it will require me also to restart because of them. Yes. So the updates worked. Let's restart the server and go back to our WSUS server. Now it's time to also get into the reports part. You remember I told you we would go to reports soon. If we want to view reports, it tells us that we can't because we are missing a specific feature, the reports viewer. Let's also prepare the server to install reports viewer. For this you have to download it. I put the link in the code, again, which you can find on my GitHub page. And first, before that, we need to install .NET Framework 3.5 because the reports viewer needs it. And to install .NET 3.5, we need the installation DVD to get it. So I will mount it very quickly. There it is. Now we can go ahead and install it. With .NET installed, we can go ahead and also install the report viewer, which I placed on my C drive. The installation has finished. Let's see. I think we have to close and open the WSUS console again. Yeah. So let's close it and open it again. Now let's try one of the reports. And here you go. We have also reports working. Not very interesting since we only have one server and 2 updates, but you get the idea. This was a look at how to configure WSUS using PowerShell. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a like. If you want to see more and get notified, please subscribe and ring the bell. And thanks a lot for watching.